The shocking experiments of the two-headed dog. Alright, let's get into the Cold War science and organ transplant. When you hear 1950s Soviet science, you probably think of the space race or nuclear weapons. But in a lab just outside of Moscow, Vladimir Demikhov was performing experiments so bizarre they still haunt medical history. His most infamous project? Surgically creating two-headed dogs. The 1950s were a time of global scientific competition. The Soviet Union and the United States weren't just racing to the moon. They were racing to unlock the secrets of medicine, biology, and survival itself. Soviet researchers, under pressure to innovate, often pushed ethical and medical boundaries that the West found unthinkable. Demikhov was not a fringe figure. He was one of the Soviet Union's leading transplant surgeons, working in a field that barely existed. At the time, heart and lung surgery was almost science fiction. No human had yet survived a heart transplant. Demikhov believed radical experiments were the only way forward. So the experiments began between 1954 and 1958. Demikhov conducted over 20 canine head transplant surgeries. So here's what he did. He took a small dog, the donor, removed its front body and head, and surgically grafted it onto the neck of a larger dog, the host. Connected the arteries to ensure blood flow to both brains, and the result, both heads could move independently. The grafted puppy could lap up milk, blink, and even bark, with the main dog remaining alive, although only for a few days or a few weeks. While the initial attempts were not successful, I guess depending on what you consider to be success, with time and improvement surgical techniques, he was able to extend the survival time of these animals, and in one case, to 29 days. So why did he do this? At first glance, it sounds like mad science for shock value, but Demikhov's goal was serious. He wanted to prove complex organ transplantation was possible, and more importantly, that organs could survive even if their original bodies did not. This work laid foundations for heart, lung, and tissue transplants decades before they became routine. Western media at the time sensationalized the experiments, framing Demikhov as Soviet Dr. Frankenstein. But in reality, his research influenced pioneers like Christian Barnard, who performed the first successful human heart transplant in 1967. Today, Demikhov is remembered as both a visionary medical innovator and a controversial figure who blurred the lines between scientific advancement and ethical boundaries. Vladimir Demikhov's two-headed dogs are a symbol of Cold War era experimental science, equal parts brilliance, desperation, and moral gray area. His work pushed medicine forward, but at a cost that modern bioethics would never accept today. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that bell.